Hello and welcome. My name is Jen Johnston, Alumni Engagement Officer at Heriot-Watt. Our alumni team supports the Watt Club and is here to serve and grow our global alumni community. We deliver events, activities and resources that support our alumni with your careers and endeavours after graduating and help you to keep in touch with the university and fellow alumni. We're delighted to welcome you today from all over the world to this webinar, Upskill and Accelerate Your Career with MBA Essentials. This webinar is being recorded and we will share a link after the event. I would like to highlight the chat function, which is available at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to pop any questions in there for our speakers and we will try and answer as many as we can in the Q&A session at the end. The slide on your screen shows you the timings for today. This event will last for 45 minutes and we will firstly hear from Russell Brooks, CEO of Heriot-Watt Online, followed by Jess Silva, one of our successful MBA graduates. We will be sharing relevant links in the chat throughout the webinar, so please keep checking for any updates. I will now pass on to Russell, who will provide an overview of Heriot-Watt Online and offer valuable insights into the MBA Essentials programme. Remember, all alumni are eligible to a special discount on further study. Over to you, Russell.
Thank you very much, Jen, and thank you very much to all of you as members of the Watt Club who have given up some of your valuable time today from wherever you are in the world to join us and hear a bit more about Heriot-Watt Online and our new MBA Essentials programme. As graduates of Heriot-Watt, I know that all of you will be very familiar with our campuses and also the subject areas where we are globally renowned. But what perhaps sometimes you may be a little bit less familiar with is the fact that Heriot-Watt University is also a global leader in online learning. Much of this can be traced back to our roots. So as anyone who's heard our principal, Professor Richard Williams, talk about the history of Heriot-Watt University, he often draws on how there's a real line of continuation between our origins in 1821 as the world's first mechanics institute that was set up to make education accessible to working people in Edinburgh, and the programs that we deliver today. And indeed, that commitment to being pioneering in education is really encapsulated by the work that we deliver in Heriot-Watt Online. So 30 years ago, we were the world's, as a university, through the Edinburgh Business School, we launched the world's first distance learning MBA, a program that offered the flexibility for people wherever they were in the world to study anytime, anywhere. If you fast forward 3 decades, we've built on that. And today, Heriot-Watt Online powers digital education programs at master's level, which span the fields of business, engineering, and energy. And we have a student base of 9,000 learners in every corner of the world. And what that means is that whilst many universities, as we've come out of the pandemic, have been attracted to perhaps to start developing online programs, you as alumni of Heriot-Watt have a link to an institution that has real heritage and expertise in this area. And that means that rather than thinking about how we might be developing online degrees for the first time, what we're actually able to do at Heriot-Watt is to think about how we evolve and develop our provision based on our decades of experience and also decades of feedback from students and employers who participated in our programs. In a moment, you're going to hear from Jess, who completed our MBA program last year, and as a fellow alumni, she is far better placed to tell you about the experience of studying on a Heriot-Watt Online program than I am. But I did just want to highlight the 3 things that we think make our programs different to others that are out there. The first one is that we put a real emphasis on flexibility. And that's one of those things that we've really learned from delivering online and distant programs for so long. So how far and how fast you want to go as you work towards a master's degree or an MBA, that's up to you. So we have all of our degree programs have very long periods of registration. In the case of the MBA, it's up to a year. Now, of course, most students work through their degrees much quicker. They do them in 2 or 3 years. but not having that having that long period of registration allows you to plan and deflects how you personalize your time, your study plan based on where you are in your life and career. And that also applies to how you study through each course. So we don't have very fixed study schedules. What you can do is build your own study schedule that fits with your other commitments at home or at work. So that means that whatever time zone you're in, or whatever you might otherwise be doing, you can build your learning around your own schedule. The second thing is that our programs are built to be accessible. And so an example of that will be that you choose they work on a pay-as-you-go basis. So as you decide to start each course, that's when you decide that you will pay for it. And the best thing is that as an alumni and already being part of Heriot-Watt community, you also get a 20% fee abatement automatically applied to your degree. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, our online degree programs are career orientated. So we know that our online learners are generally working professionals who are looking for a program that's going to empower them towards the next role in their career. Perhaps it's going to be a change of career, or perhaps it's just the promotion up, or they'll be looking for that next salary rise. And so what we do is we work very carefully to make sure that all of these courses are supporting that. The content is applied. It's designed entirely for working professionals. These aren't really programs for people who are looking to build towards a PhD or an academic career in the future. These are absolutely rooted in the needs of industry today. And that's where our newest program, MBA Essentials, starts. And that's what we're announcing today. So MBA Essentials takes 3 courses from our globally renowned MBA: People, Work and Organizations, Leadership Theory and Practice, and Delivering Successful Projects. And these have been identified by our academic colleagues in the Edinburgh Business School, but also the employers who we work with, as having offering the fundamental MBA skills that will accelerate any career, particularly for people who are stepping up into management and leadership roles for the first time. So through this program, it will allow you to explore how people behave at work and how to design teams to get the best out of the people who you are leading. You'll have the opportunity to learn about leadership theories and work out how they apply to your organization and your role. And then also the skills to deliver projects to time, budget, and brief. So those critical project management skills. So those are the 3 things that we know set people apart as they're building their careers and identifying themselves as the future leaders and talents within an organization. Leading others, driving teams, and delivering successful projects. Now, what also is true about the reason that we've designed the MBA Essentials is to make sure that it works for people who may not quite be sure whether or not they've got the time or are ready to commit to a full MBA. So we'll hear from Jess in a minute, and she may tell us a bit more about how she decided to choose on the MBA. But we know from talking to many potential students and Heriot-Watt alumni that not everybody is sure whether or not an MBA is for them right now. So what the MBA Essentials program allows a student to do is to begin studying towards that MBA, but in a much more focused way. So you get these critical skills up front. You can complete the program in as little as 8 months or longer if you wish, and you can start implementing what you learn in your role from day one. At the end of the program, you get a postgraduate certificate and an MBA together in business and management. You get the MBA Essential certificate that allows you to put the phrase MBA on your CV that we know employers love. And then you can choose to stop there, or you can choose to carry straight on and work towards the MBA. Or if you decide in the future that you want to then come back and study for a full MBA, then you've already got a third of the program in the tank. So whether you want to come back now or in 10 years' time, you will find that the time and cost that's required in working towards that full MBA will be 1/3 less than it would have been if you were starting from scratch then. So that's our MBA Essentials program in a nutshell. So what I'm going to do now is, before we hear from Jess, we're going to play a short video that allows you to hear from some of our other graduates who've studied with Heriot-Watt Online.
In order to perform my job to a higher level, I've started my degree in online course with Heriot-Watt.
I'm very passionate about what I do, and I just really wanted to become an expert in that field.
The primary reason for choosing Heriot-Watt was the fact that I could do it via distance learning.
I wanted some way that I could get my master's without having to go into university.
I could study at my own pace. It allowed me to also fit it around my work commitments and also around my family commitments as well.
I have a young family of 2 and 4-year-old. Studying for degree around family was a very big advantage.
The distance learning courses offered a wide range of choices of how you study the modules.
Everything's there, so if you think, right, I'm going to dedicate this entire weekend to looking at this module, you can just get it done.
Even with online, it was as good as being on a campus.
I have developed myself, and I'm still making my network. I'm applying it every day in my job.
I'm now working in a role where I get to use a lot of the material that I studied on a day-to-day basis.
I see myself making a big leap in a career.
Becoming a better manager and a better professional.
I'm very happy and proud to be a graduate from Heriot-Watt.
Thank you, Russell. That was really useful insight into all that Heriot-Watt Online and the MBA Essentials program has to offer our global alumni and also our wider community. Remember, if you have any questions today, please pop them in the chat and we'll pick them up in the Q&A session later. I will now hand over to Jess to tell us about her experience of studying an MBA with Heriot-Watt and how this has contributed to her career so far. Over to you, Jess.
Thank you, Jen. Hello, everyone. I just want to say I'm really happy you made the time to be here today. And before I introduce myself, I would like to start by telling you a bit about my journey and how I came upon the Heriot-Watt MBA program. Back in 2018, I moved from Canada to the UK, and I was working for the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award. The award has a special partnership with Heriot-Watt University, and they were offering people like myself, at the time I was a brand and comms manager, the opportunity to undertake their MBA program. Now, I sat back and was considering, is this something I have time for? Is this something I want to do? Can I get through it? Because it is quite a daunting, long program. However, I said, you know what, start. And of course, you can always do 3 courses, see how you get on. So I started back in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. And my first course was marketing. So I did that first exam in person. And of course, the pandemic hit, the world changed, and the Heriot-Watt program quickly pivoted to an online exam model as well, which was amazing for myself because in between that time, I was back and forth between Canada and the UK. So fast forward about 2.5 years, finished my program last year in August 2022. And I'm fortunate to say that I actually graduated from my MBA program in Dubai just last month. Now, that's a bit about my MBA journey, but what I want to tell you about is actually how the MBA program impacted my life. As I mentioned, I had started out at the D of E. Unfortunately, my role was made redundant at the time, but I was gifted the MBA program to keep. Now, I continued on with a small group of people. So I had a mini study group to kind of study, undertake the program. And as Russell mentioned, undertake courses like people work in organizations, project management. And what I found was while studying, every position I took thereafter, it was so critical to everything that I did. So studying economics at the time when we were going through the pandemic and seeing in real time how the world shifted and how it was impacted really benefited my studies and vice versa. Now, for background, I'd studied health sciences and I have an MSc in health sciences, so I'm a trained researcher. However, when my role was made redundant, I took a step back and said, hang on, I'd like to combine health sciences and my studies from my MBA program to find an industry that works for me. And now this is where I'd like to introduce what I do. So I'm currently a client services director in medical education. Now, what that means is we offer healthcare professionals their continuing professional development courses. And what I found is I started at my company as a project director, so that'd be account director. And within a year, I've actually progressed to lead the team. So I currently lead a team of 8 people globally to deliver programs in hematology and in immunology. And the MBA program is directly credited for all of that, from being a better leader, from having the courage to sit at a table where I didn't necessarily have that before, to simply, to be frank, doubling my salary in the 2.5 years that I've undertook the MBA program. All of that is directly attributed to having undertaken the studies at Heriot-Watt, and in fact, the community of people that surround you. So some of the things that we did in some of the courses I undertook was create a mini WhatsApp group to have the support if you don't know anyone in the program, or as you're going through the studies, the professors are very responsive, so they're able to answer your questions in real time. And I never had any issues getting any questions I had needed answering while prepping for any exams. The best part is one of my friends that I was studying with, she decided to become a mum during her MBA studies and has taken a little break from the program. She has 2 courses left, and though myself and my other friend are finished the program, we're supporting her through that as a bit of moral support. What I'd say as well is that the courses that Russell mentioned, I can directly say have helped me be a better leader in my company, from people work in organizations to building a healthy company culture, understanding and diagnosing business issues, to simply being able to be a leader and a better, leader versus manager at your company. It's absolutely impactful. So what brings me here today? When Jen reached out to me and asked me, would I be willing to speak with everyone? I had zero hesitation whatsoever, because I really do feel in real time, as I mentioned, both financially, but also as far as my confidence and self-assuredness goes, the MBA program at Heriot-Watt is directly attributable and having helped me develop as a person and as a leader. So what I would say to you is, if you are considering this, the MBA Essentials program is probably your best bet to just get started, get 3 courses under your belt. And the 3 courses that Russell mentioned are absolutely incredible to help you become a better leader. Should you choose to do the MBA program after, that's completely a decision you can make at a later date. But the 3 reasons why I would say you should undertake that are the flexibility. As I mentioned, my friend stopped her program for a little bit to raise her baby and is now picking it up again. The exams, you can do them within 24 hours. It's really flexible. And in fact, it allows you to produce better work and better quality work, and enables you to have that thinking time. The quality, everything I learned in my MBA program, I directly use in my day-to-day life now, professionally. So what I've learned is actually completely realistic and able to be used throughout everything I do, from strategic thinking, planning, SWOT analyses. So the quality of what we learn is really impactful. And also the community. As I mentioned, I graduated out of Dubai. I didn't know anyone when I went, but it was absolutely incredible to sit in a room of people who had all kind of gone through similar experiences, and you just pick up as if you've known each other for a long time. So I would say the community that Heriot-Watt university has is they're really friendly, helpful, and always willing to be there for you and support you and celebrate your successes. So yeah, thank you for listening. I really do hope if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you, Jess. That was wonderful, and congratulations on your success. I mean, it's great to hear you've had such a positive experience at Heriot-Watt and hear about the many opportunities that your MBA has given you and continues to give you. So thank you for taking the time for being with us here today. Yes, please do pop in any questions that you may have in the chat. We already have a few, so I'll kick off if that's okay. So this might apply for both of you. What flexibility, we've talked a little bit about it already, I think, both of you, but what flexibility do you think this online format offers for working professionals, Russell? How do you feel that people can juggle this or manage this quite successfully, as well as managing their own job commitments?
Yeah, thanks, Jen. I mean, I think in some ways, I think I'll let Jess pick this up because she has the experience of it. But what we hear from students, particularly who value the flexibility, is perhaps two things. The first one is the linear flexibility, so the time. So Jess talked there about well, in fact, there was a couple you hit upon, Jess, that we hear a lot. So the first one is unforeseen changes in working circumstance. So people whose jobs change, for example, like Jess talked about, about her role being made redundant. That is something that happens to many people over or a good proportion over a 3 or 4 year program. So the ability to be able to either accelerate or decelerate based on what's going on there. Again, people, we've heard Jess also talked about relocating. That's something that we hear again from a lot of students who, and the fact that whether that's due to their role or family, if they move somewhere else, the fact you can carry on studying as you were, the program isn't tied to a particular time zone, that works really very well. And then also everyone's has things that go on outside, and whether it's caring responsibilities, new children, older relatives. Again, the program you're in control of how quickly or how slow you go. And I think that's something that we've heard from students time and time again is a success factor in getting them to the other end. But perhaps as well as that linear flexibility, the other flexibility that we're really now trying to build into the program is the flexibility to be able to personalize the curriculum to suit your life and career. And this is something, so what we've been working quite hard at the moment is to take all of our online degrees and start to make them much more interconnected. So Jess would have studied 7 core courses and 2 optional courses. And at the moment, those 2 optional courses have come from a sort of set of pro courses that are really developed just for the MBA. In a week or 2, what will also be available now will be courses that sit within our Masters in Supply Chain Management and Logistics, and courses that sit within our MSc in Business Analytics. And we hope in time to bring, we're working at the moment with Aegis, the engineering school, to look at how we can bring some of their courses again, so that what we really want students to be able to do is build as well as the core content, something that really is aligned to their career goals. So that's the other flexibility that we really want, is programmatic as well as linear. Jess, I don't know if you want to build on that with.
I mean, I think what you said, Russell, completely hits the nail on the head. For me personally, I found the flexibility of the program just enabled me to kind of jump between countries, and I also got married during my MBA. So it really did. The flexibility of the program was just fantastic and really enabled me to live my life, but also enhance it at the same time.
Great. Thank you very much. And Jess, I've once come in for yourself also maybe about managing your time and any tips. So do you have any tips for managing your time while studying and working, for example, a routine that worked for you particularly?
Yeah, that's great. It took me a few courses, if I'm completely honest, to get that right. But what I would say is I quite front-loaded my studies. So what I did was I'd try and go as quickly as possible through a module to really get it in there, because I think you have about four months. Really, so the first month and a half, I just cram everything I could in. Then I take a break. The break was really important for me because it enabled me to see my friends, kind of, not that I wasn't during the cramming time, but it just gave me a bit of flexibility, and I knew I had a bit of a break. And then I revisited the content again after, and made exam notes. And the most practical thing I did was just do the practice exams as well. So as I got closer to my exam about 2 weeks before, so it was also fresh in my mind, I just do all the practice exams, review it, do all the practice exams and review it as well, and then prep any answers where possible. But I would just say make sure you have fun time as well. It's really, really important, because if not, I found I didn't absorb things when I was just like, I need to study. If your mind's not in it in that moment and you don't have the exam next week, don't worry about it. Just take your time. And when you come at it fresh, sometimes it just sits better with you. So
Great advice. Thank you. You mentioned exams there. Russell, how are the exams and assignments administered in this program?
Okay, so this is one of the things that where again we have changed and innovated, and Jess touched on it a bit in what she was talking about. But in the main, what we do is that when we come to the end of a course, 3 times a year, we offer, for each of the courses, we offer an assessment, and what we now call that is an online end of course assessment. So I would avoid the word exam. So back in the day, and perhaps what club members who've known the MBA for a long time might have heard of students who would go and sit their exams in a British Council building somewhere in the world, and there are stories of how many hours the people competed to have to travel to do that. Well, the good news is that doesn't apply anymore. what you have is the exams or assessments are intended to take about 3 hours. And what we do is you can now have a 24-hour window 3 times a year where you can log on and work through that from wherever suits you. So you can do it in a 3-hour block. You could do it, I think that's what most people do. You can do it split. You can go for a walk and come back to it. You can do, again, it really depends. And then at the end of that 24 hours, you need to have uploaded your script and it gets marked. I think so what that means is you choose the location where you work best, you choose the time of day where you work best, if you're a night owl, if you're a morning riser, to be able to, and I think it was nice to hear Jess talk about actually the fact that this now allows people, and I think, to do their best work and give the best version of themselves. This is a program that is about supporting our participants to go and develop their careers. It's not about, and I think that the assessment does that. I think the other thing I'd just say about the assessment is there's no surprises. So as well as the sample exam papers, we made the previous 3 exam papers together with a kind of examiner's commentary available on the as part of the course materials. And what that means is that you can really take a look at as you're preparing for an exam and see what the format is. And it's designed to intentionally be predictable. So people work in organizations is an example of a course on the MBA Essentials. 2 weeks before, you get a case study. You can read through, you've got time to think about that, prepare for it. And then in the 24 hours, you know that you're going to answer a couple of questions on that case study and a couple of questions more around the theory. So the questions are published on the day of the assessment. But again, this is around allowing participants to prepare for the assessment, to be ready for it. So I think that really we hope that we're in it's actually a really nice way now that participants can draw together their learning whilst at the end of a course. Yeah, Jess, is there anything I've missed out on that, or is that?
No, I think you've completely hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I think having that, especially for people working in organizations, you have lots of prep time. And I think it may have changed, but one question where it would be on the day you'd get it. But if you'd done all your studies, it was, completely relevant and very similar, as you said, to previous exams as well. So you're never blindsided.
Great, thank you so much. I think I've just realized that maybe some of the chat was disabled there, but it's working again now. So if you have had any issues submitting a question, you've still got plenty of time to submit one now. Apologies if you've tried and you weren't able to, but you should be able to either message everybody or message us as the panelists. So please, apologies for that. I've got another few questions as well. Jess, you mentioned about community, and obviously we're all about improving and celebrating the Heriot-Watt community throughout the world. A particular one we've had is about, obviously you're studying online, but would you still feel it was a class environment? Do you feel like you're still part of a community? And what do you think helped you achieve that in your time studying MBA?
Absolutely. I think I see this question in 2 parts, because one, I think the world's changed. I think what we view as community isn't necessarily typically in a classroom. It's sort of who you can reach out to. And in fact, what Heriot-Watt offers is a global community. So people, there's a student messaging board, and on the courses you can chat with other students, and they're very responsive. I think everyone recognizes they're trying to do this together, so it creates quite a sense of camaraderie. So you can message people were creating WhatsApp groups to help study together, things like that. So for anyone who needed that support, you had those more active and engaged individuals on the courses themselves. And you also have a messaging board, like an administration messaging board, where people can connect with one another. So I think from that side, absolutely, I think there's such a great opportunity to reach out to people. And in fact, it's great networking as well. Really, who you meet are people most often who are studying and working at the same time. So there's really kind of a common respect there for one another. And the second part to that is also, I think, having attended a graduation ceremony in person, it was so lovely to see just how many people from all walks of life, from all countries. I think beside me I had a gentleman from Uganda, and the other side was a gentleman from Zambia who flew in solely just to celebrate the fact that they had done this whilst working. It was incredible. So seeing that, I think it's just, you realize just how the breadth of the program and how many people's lives it's impacting.
Great, Jess. Wonderful to hear that. You still felt that essence of community. That's really great. Michelle, thank you for messaging everybody. Apologies if you did have any issues joining. If anyone does, that did have any issues joining, there will be a link sent out to everybody registered and they can watch this recording. But please do let me know or contact the Watt Club if you've had any issues. But Michelle, your question in the chat then is, although it's self-paced, is there a minimum recommended number of hours per week to spend on the course? I'd send that one to yourself, Russell.
So the answer is comes back to the flexibility. Thanks again, Michelle, for the question. So generally, what we would say is that for each of the 9, so to complete the MBA, you're looking at 9 courses, and generally, what we find is that the sort of typical student will find that in the preparation of studying for that, it will be about 200 hours of work. It really depends on the person and the subject. But of course, what you've got is the flexibility around how long that should take. So roughly 10 hours a week, I think, would be the kind of suggested if you were doing one course. But again, some students do 2 courses at a time. Some students again, as you roll up towards that exam date, what you've also got the flexibility to do in the online campus is to effectively flick a switch and say, actually, I need another. I'm not quite ready to do this, so I'm going to sit my exam in March or April rather than in November or December. And I think so. Again, so it's there to respond to the different ways that people work, but including reading around. We would normally advise 200 hours is what you would expect to prepare for an assessment.
Thank you, Russell. We've got a few more questions in, which is great. Thank you for the session. I would appreciate to know more about the available courses and tuition. Is one of the questions, Russell?
Yeah, great. So, I mean, I think the available, so we've talked to that. So if you want to find out the full range of the Heriot-Watt Online degrees, then the best place to go is hw.ac.uk/online. There's just, I think it's 25 MSc programs. So I won't list them all out now, but they mainly come from the business school and Aegis. In terms of the MBA Essentials that we've been talking about today, so the tuition fees our tuition fees depend on where you live in the world. So we have for somebody who was living in for example the UK, the fee for MBA Essentials would be £3,690. But with the alumni discount, that would bring that down to just under £3,000. So I think it's about 2,950, something like that. And then we offer in countries with lower typical incomes or salaries, we we bring that down by about a third. So depends on the program, and then for the full cost of the MBA, you can multiply those numbers by 3. So it would be for an alumni to study the MBA around £9,000.
Great, and we have shared that link at the start, but I'm going to pop that link in again into the chat for the online.
Thanks.
So there's 2 separate links, one for Heriot-Watt Online and the MBA. So I'll do that just now. 2 more questions that have come in. They may be quite specific to particular courses. So again, the information might be in this chat, these on the website, as you say, Russell. But will there be a program relevant to artificial intelligence strategies?
Yeah, I'm not in a position to announce one today. I think that what you can assume is that there's 2 things that we're looking with all of our across all of the courses in the MBA now, that as we're refreshing and updating them, we're looking to have a golden threads of sustainability and technology through all of them. So you can expect to see references to, for example, artificial intelligence increasingly appearing within the core content. In terms of specific courses, we are currently working both talking within the business school and with our colleagues in maths and computer science. We'd love to offer both courses and degrees on AI. Of course, we have the National Roboterium at Heriot-Watt now, which is producing large amounts of new research in some of these areas. And an online degree is a great way for us to be able to then get that out and making impact. So we'll hopefully have some news on that soon. I was going to move on to the next question, but I'll let you read it out, Jen.
Yeah, no, but please feel free to jump in, Russell. If you're seeing them, you feel free.
Yeah, fine. So I'll just move on to petroleum engineering. So there is no postdoctorate online program for petroleum engineering. We do have the online MSc in petroleum engineering, and I think what the best thing is, I think you've already put in the chat, HW online apps at hw.ac.uk is the email address for our admissions team. And what I'd say is, for anyone who wants to talk about a specific degree or the specific entry requirements, if you drop an email to that email address, then someone will come, the team will be happy to kind of talk to you personally about what your situation is and what the specific program is. For most of our degrees, they work on as well as having the published admissions criteria, we have what we call the 2 or 3 course admissions criteria. When what we try and do is allow participants who perhaps don't have, who have experience through working life rather than through formal academic qualifications, the opportunity to get studying. And if you can pass those first couple of courses, or in some cases 3, depends on the program, you can move on to the full degree and carry on. So again, that's part of our kind of accessibility focus. So yeah, best thing to do is chat to the team, and they can help.
Great, I'll just pop that in just now for you too. I can't see any other new questions for yourself, Russell. I had another question for you, Jess, if I may. Would I be right in thinking that as you're doing the MBA, it's one of those courses as you're working that you actually see the benefit immediately? The knowledge you get, you could actually apply that day, or that week, or something in your job. Can you tell us more about that, or give us an example of when that's maybe has been the case for you?
Absolutely. I think 100% would be my answer, because what you're studying is actually yes, there are bits of theory, but it's actually quite practical. So for example, when I was studying people work in organizations, we used a lot of different models, one being intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, and how to motivate people. So people inherently have things that they want. So maybe I don't know, maybe you're motivated by opportunity, growth, or salary, right? So it's just understanding that. And I can say, hands down, me being a leader at a company now, when I manage my team, a lot of the times when I do their progress chats with them, I'll try and use those models to understand what they're motivated by. And each person is so individual, but that also helps feed into a company strategy as well. So how do we motivate our staff? How do we keep, from something simple as attrition to how we keep people happy, essentially motivated at work? It's really practical. And the leadership one at that as well talks about the difference between being a leader and a manager, which is not something I ever understood, right? So it's really knowing the right time to be either, and kind of doing your best job to actually really bring the best out of people and kind of make as many business efficiencies as possible. So absolutely, I think every course that I studied, I can say hands down, I probably became a better leader and employee at my company. That's
great, Jess. Thank you so much. We're having another question in about scholarships. I'm just putting in the relevant link for that, so hopefully that I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that, Russell, but someone was just asking about where's the best place to look at for more information on scholarships, and I've just popped in a link to that. If there's anything else we want to add.
I think that's the right link, and again, chat to the team. Like that, you put the email address just above that. I'd say get in touch and mention your alumni as well.
Great. Another question for you, Russell, is I understand that there are opportunities for employers to work with the team to help upskill their staff. Can you tell our alumni a bit more about that, please?
Yeah, that's right. So we have a dedicated team, Jen, who work with employers to take the content from within our online degrees and make that work for their workforces. And actually, it's often alumni who get in touch because who with direct experience of the team to ask us more about that. So sometimes that can be as simple as a cohort from a particular organization wanting to work through one of our degree programs, in which case we can facilitate that. One of the things that we're talking to some employers about at the moment, and actually we're piloting ourselves within Heriot-Watt, is to take the MBA Essentials program and offer that for in-company training. So within Professor Heather McGregor, who leads our Dubai campus and previously was the executive dean at the business school, has led is driving this for us internally, which is where we've identified 20 of our highest potential future leaders within the organization through a competitive recruitment process. And they are then studying for effectively the MBA Essentials program as an internal development program alongside some organizational context. And again, when we're thinking about that with other employers, it's the opportunity to tailor that to take that content, work towards the MBA Essentials, and then invest in talent that you're looking like that your talent pipeline, support people, middle managers into leadership and emerging leaders into leadership roles, and but then also for example, our internal staff, they are doing around each course a 4-day in-person session where they're coming out of their roles, 2 days with a faculty member, providing them with guidance and contents on the to support their learning, and 2 days of additional content which is coming from within the institution that the institution wants to really tailor the program. So I think there's lots of different models. Again, we have a dedicated team, and we'd be delighted to talk to alumni who think their institutions might be interested. And Jess, of course, mentioned that she started on one of these programs, which we have with the DofE, which still goes today.
Great. And we've put information in the chat there about the sort of different contacts there is for the business team as well. So we've popped that in there too. We've had a question in, we've got a few minutes left. And if we don't cover your question, we'll pick it up. Please email the Watt Club or one of the email addresses that you've seen, and we will follow up with you. Someone's asking about the discount. What of a discount? Maybe they've joined a bit late, Russell. Maybe we could just have a very quick reminder of the discount.
20% for alumni.
20% for alumni. And again, if you even contact the admissions team, I'm assuming then you can take you forward. And if you have any
correct, yeah, it's very easy to apply.
And maybe this also answers Ishmael. Please, how do I have access to various tuition fee categories based on location? So again, I think that would be contacting the admissions team. That's
right. And for the MBA, there's a really clear, if you follow the pages through to the MBA, there's a very clear calculator actually there where you can put whatever country you're in the world in, and it will tell you. So
fantastic.
Excuse me.
That's great. Well, I think we're going to have to call it there. I just want to thank everybody for joining today. A special thanks to Russell and Jess for taking the time today. Please remember to look out for your follow-up email, which will include a recording of the webinar. And please feel free to share it with friends, family, your networks, employers, as we're talking about how relevant it is for a lot of people. Make sure you've checked your links, and don't forget to keep in touch with us, as well as looking at the Heriot-Watt Online and all the MBA Essential program information. Please do keep in touch with us at the Watt Club. I have put a link in the chat about the web pages, which talks to you about the benefits that were available to you and how you can stay in touch, stay connected, and give back with your time, like Jess has today, very kindly, and other opportunities to support our current students today. So that's the end of today's webinar. Thanks again for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day.